Rent. What's up, everyone? This is Dylan, Brandon, and Noah. Welcome back to Give Me Rent. We got a new info episode for you. We got a lot of news to discuss. Also, a couple reviews for you today as well. I think we should start. We were really excited for the new Predator film that came out this week, and I think it delivered. I think Predator Badlands was a really good time. I definitely have some criticisms. But yeah,
Yeah.
Skonik, what did you think of the movie? You didn't see it with us. We saw it in IMAX, which was a really cool experience. I think it was definitely the preferred way to see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was your experience like?
So I kind of got screwed over the next day just because I had my schedule lined up. I saw it in 3D. Um,
Okay,
I know
that's kind of
very.
cool. That is actually kind of. I have heard good things about it in 3D.
I actually really liked it in 3D, and you know how I am. I'm very skeptical on going to see these 3D movies because sometimes I feel like it really takes away from the beauty of the film. But it did not feel that way with this movie at all. I really enjoyed it, but I have my critiques. It felt, it feels like the past three projects we have had with the Predator franchise, each individual Yautja has been unique.
Yeah.
And
Well, for Killer of Killers, we had three, which was really
yeah,
cool. They were all very, yeah, even more than three, and they were all very distinct, like very distinct.
yeah. And I do like that we get to see the flaws and strengths of each one to show, like, yeah, as much as they are the Predator and to them, like, no pun intended, everyone's their prey and they trophy hunt, but you get to see them get challenged a bit. And especially in this one where you do get, a Yautja that's not as strong as the others, who is not accepted by his clan right away. And from what we've seen in the past is that doesn't usually happen. We do see these dominant creatures
Yeah.
trophy hunting, whether it's the Predator series, whether it was in Mortal Kombat, the video game, whether it was in AVP. We have seen them throughout media be these, these brutes and
Yeah.
very strong and tactical. And it was very interesting to see one have to really adapt more than usual. It was.
Well, it was interesting alone to just see him be the main character of the movie. Like we are in the Predator's POV for the entire time, which
Yeah.
is actually it's such a paradigm shift. It's wild. But yeah, you're very right. Like think about the original Predators that we got, like the Jungle Hunter. Like he's an experienced Yautja on his like whatever number hunt it is for him, just going to Earth hunting Arnold and his crew. But like for this movie, we have Deck, who is a very inexperienced Yautja out on his first solo hunt. Like it's a really different. It's just a different take on a Predator story entirely, and
Yeah,
I thought it worked.
and you're getting a lot of dialogue out of him, which is very weird. And I want to definitely delve into his mindset. Like you get to see from somebody who's the weak link really care about that honor, right? Predators really care about honor, their trophy. Like that is such a big victory for them and who they are. It's a big part of their identity. His redemption at the end for his brother was awesome. I loved the way it ended, and it really leaves you questioning a lot, especially how the end is. His mother's clan now shows up. What does
But
that
yeah,
mean?
there's so many possibilities now, and we'll get there.
Yeah,
But I do want to point something out. I mean, that you mentioned. This is obviously the first time we're really seeing all these Yautjas really communicate. And you're right. We,
yeah,
we thrust, Deck, our main predator of this movie, into a story that isn't unfamiliar to us. Like this familiar story, of him trying to prove himself there, but also, find, revenge for his own brother. It's not things we haven't seen, but throwing a Yautja into that type of story made it very interesting. This is a type of creature movie we haven't really got to see, and it was so seamless. I was concerned with the language and how they were going to speak. I think they
yeah.
did it very well, especially with how he communicated with the android. Yeah, I feel like not enough people are mentioning this. Like this is kind of like something we've never really seen before in general. Like have we seen another movie in the perspective of a non-human like alien character where it's like he fully just trusted that we would really be on board with Deck's journey, and I mean I was like I enjoyed it, but it's just crazy how like immediately you were in the Predator's POV. Like
Yeah.
yeah, one thing that was weird. One thing that was weird, for me is that he doesn't wear the helmet a lot in this film. I think that was very interesting. I'm kind of wondering how he was able to see the entire time. I guess bro really locked in like that. Yeah. But we didn't get to see a lot of very interesting helmets in this one. I'm hoping if we do get the potential next movie, especially with the female predators coming in, we get some really cool designs again. Because even when we saw the helmets, they were all pretty similar in this one, except for his father, which was really cool and distinct. I'll give him that.
but there wasn't a lot of crazy, variation on the helmets here. Which, that's not the point, but I obviously love that aspect.
I don't think there was a crazy variation on tech. I mean, they strip him of most tech within the first 10 minutes of the movie. Like, he's pretty bare bones throughout the whole thing. And by the end of the movie, when he has to lock in and kind of dutch up, kind of make his own weapons, like, it's pretty dope.
Yeah. I mean, really humanizing him too. How do you guys feel about that? Especially, him having a sort of team at the end of this film that isn't, he said he's found his own clan now, his own, Yautja family that aren't Yautjas. How do you guys feel about that? And, potentially what this could mean going forward?
It's so weird to see how, like you said, humanized and more emotional. But I also think the rejection he sees in the beginning of the movie, because he is, from what we've seen from context clues and the death of his brother, his father revealing his plans, how he wanted his brother to murder him, you see a lot of clarity from within. And it's weird to just see a Yautja go towards another clan. It really is. Like, it's so weird for him to create his own, to do his own thing. Like,
well, he basically was, kind of outlawed from his own clan. Like, he felt unwanted, essentially.
100%. It was so weird to see that. Like, I don't know how I felt about it. Him and Android and a callous offspring. Like, it was so weird to see that at the end. And I don't want to say, like, I didn't like the I'm gonna just call it Bud, because that was what they named the callous child in the movie.
Yeah.
But it was so weird to see Bud throughout, like, almost like a sidekick. It felt
Well,
almost
this is something I've heard a big criticism about this film,
like
and from a lot of
Mandalorian
people.
vibe. It gave
Exactly,
a Mandalorian
and that's
vibe.
perfectly said, because a lot of people have said that this film, and it is made by Disney, but they said it's kind of Disney-fied in a certain way, and I would say yes in a way, but I was watching it, and parts of it kind of felt like an MCU movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And like the inclusion of that little character, that little cute like creature with him too. You're right. It did start making me think of like Baby Yoda and the stuff from Mandalorian. And I was like, yeah, I'd say those are my biggest gripes with the movie was some of the creature design. It just felt like it didn't belong in Predator.
Yeah.
Which isn't to say like I don't think it totally killed the movie. I mean, I really enjoyed this movie, but I would say I did not like the design of the little creature, the son of the little Callusk, whatever, the son of the Callusk.
I did think the overall callus design was cool, though. So, like, eventually he'll grow into, like, what the cool design is. Like, you don't fully understand that that's...
Yeah, I understand it's an offspring and it's probably very young, so, like, it's going to, but it did remind me a little bit. I'm going to be honest, like, it did remind me of The Mandalorian a little bit, where Din Djarin at first, removed his helmet. It came out like he was kind of outcasted at one point. He had Grogu by his side. Deck was outcasted by the Yautja, has Bud by his side, and Bud grows up, like, there was just little things here and there that I saw, and I'm like, all right, this kind of reminds me of it, but I felt like it was executed well enough throughout the entire movie that critique I have was overshadowed by the success of the film.
They didn't make it, like, too ooey. Like, it definitely is the most, like, for lack of a better word, like, wholesome Predator movie we've ever gotten, but it's still... Like, I do not think Dan Trachtenberg wrote this thinking it was going to be rated PG-13. Like, this is still a hardcore movie. Like, it's still a Predator movie at the end of the day. And that's, like, the action was still awesome. And you get a lot of the Predator stuff that you want, at the end of the day still. Like,
well, no, you're right, because, when we talked about it literally a day before seeing it, I was concerned, especially seeing the little creature on the poster. I was like, that just doesn't look like it belongs. I will say, where they got to with it towards the end, I think definitely made up for it a little bit. You're right.
Yeah.
Especially, the last time you see it. It's bigger. It's turning into the creature, that we saw its father as. So, I mean, there's definitely some interesting stuff. I think if we're going to see that creature again, I hope it looks more like, the father. But I kind of just feel like I don't want to see it again. But it looks like if we get another one, this will be the first Predator movie to be a direct sequel. And that's very interesting.
If we're going to talk about sidekicks, too, that is, I will say, there's never been a direct sequel Predator movie. And none of them have ever been a direct sequel, literally. And there's been, like, 10 movies, and it's kind of wild. So, I'm excited to see if they finally continue. These are the people to continue to, because what I was about to say next is I think Elle Fanning did a fantastic job in this movie. She is really good in this. Like, honestly, maybe the best performance in this franchise we've ever gotten. I will go as far to say that, because she's pulling double weight in here with a dual role, which is, I didn't even know that until I saw the movie, and she just really impressed me the entire time. And what I was trying to say is, yeah, I think we should continue from where we see them at the end of this movie. It's a very interesting spot where we leave them on Yautja Prime, and I think right there, I want to see exactly where it continues because it's just there's a lot of possibilities for this franchise, and I like that Dan Trachtenberg's all three of his movies are so distinct in their approach, showing that you really can go down so many different angles for this franchise. There's a lot of possibilities.
Well, you're right, and I do love that. I think there's definitely something I could point out in each of his movies that I didn't really like, but I think more so there's so much more positives in them. And going into this fourth one, he's promised that it's another really big swing.
Yeah, but let's be real. We rather this timeline than whatever the Predator was cooking up because that was that.
We genuinely thought this was dead in the water after that. That's one of the worst movies I've ever watched personally. So I cannot believe that. And also, knowing that, they started to make Prey during the production of that. Yeah, it sways the story a little bit. I think Trachtenberg genuinely is the savior of this. Like now, especially after seeing Badlands, I can this wouldn't be a franchise right now without him. And I'm also very, after Predator Society, as I believe it is, I think it's a matriarchal society, as it's stated in the comics. And that, it's very interesting because we've never seen a female in a film, mentioned in a film, anything until the end of Badlands.
Yeah.
And that's, the movie, before we even got there, it opened so many possibilities for where we could take the franchise. But now I think that ending is really saying, what is a big setup for what Trachtenberg is going to do next.
Yeah.
So knowing, where it left us off, what do you guys want to see with Badlands 2?
So I just want to talk about, obviously, how we talked about the matriarchal, with the outro. But I will say it's very inconsistent in the media from what I remember. There were times where the females were more stronger, they were faster, they were, tend to be more skilled. They would stay on their homeland, I believe. I can get corrected if somebody wants to correct me in the comments, but that they would stay on the homeland and the males were the ones that really trophy hunted.
Well, that would make sense because we've never seen an off-planet female predator.
Yeah, but they rule
Clearly, they exist, but they've never been like off Yautja Prime.
100%. And they rule the on planet while the males go and trophy hunt.
Yeah.
I believe I'm trying to remember how they mate, if they pick who they believe is the strongest for them or the most skilled. I don't remember what it is.
Well, for the hardcore Predator fans, even like me and you, which we're not maybe the biggest, but like we're pretty into it. Like there's a lot of Easter eggs in Badlands. If you really look closely, especially for the stuff on Yautja Prime. I really think Trachtenberg is following a bit of the Dark Horse comic lore. It seems like definitely by a couple of the Easter eggs in this movie, he's following very specific bits of it. So I'm curious to see what his take on the female predator even is. I think it is looking like they are the ruler of the world, but we don't know yet.
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't even say the ruler. And sorry for interrupting you, Brandon. But I think, one of the things they look at, or one of the things they're implementing, is that the females only get involved when real shit goes down. And the ending of this movie, you see, Deck take on his father and, kill a clan leader. That's a big deal. So the ending it makes complete sense with some of the lore we understand about the females. But kind of what happens next is really up for Trachtenberg's interpretation. Because, I'm not an expert on how familiar units work within Predators. But I'm sure he has a very clear idea. Obviously this film was very telling of that. So I'm very excited to see, how Deck's going to interact with his mother.
Yeah, 100%. I do want to. I know we're going to stray away from this movie itself in a second, but I want to highlight something that I really didn't think oversaturated the movie and threw it at you, but I think it was introduced pretty well, and that was obviously Wayland. And I'm very excited to see what happens because now they coexist. Like it's confirmed. We've had Romulus, we've had Easter eggs,
and this movie is set in, or at least on the timeline where it's really far in the future. That it doesn't really step on anyone's toes here. Like it's not, at least it's not messing with anything they're doing in the timeline currently with Romulus or even Hawley's, Noah Hawley's Alien Earth. It doesn't touch any of that. This is touching very later in the timeline, kind of closer to I'd say Alien Resurrection time, like that late in the time, literally.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually, I did a little research on this. So this film takes place after Alien Resurrection. and I forgot how long it's been, but it's definitely substantial enough. I mean, that Trachtenberg himself has pointed out that 100% it takes place after that. And knowing that, it's weird because in that movie, Waylon didn't exist anymore. So it looks like maybe he's going to be changing the lore a little bit there too. That makes me start to think, though, is that possibly planting seeds for Alien vs. Predator in some way?
It feels like it is. Honestly, Waylon was so involved with understanding the outro already and wanting to bring him on board and all that stuff, and just the samples of creatures they want to collect, that it doesn't pass anything in my mind, especially if I wonder why they sent full androids. They're like, oh, they wouldn't survive here. Is it because xenomorphs have been known as a species to use regular humans as hosts and androids would not be compatible and they didn't take
Well, I don't even know if it was more a Xeno concern because of the creature they were facing. It doesn't not make sense why they were there, but timeline-wise, it is interesting. I'm kind of wondering, has that unit maybe been there for even longer than we kind of assumed from the film?
And Mother was weird. And it made me feel like it was almost like a broken
record. It's weird that they
record.
are reporting to Mother still as well. And, like, there's a lot of questions with that. I mean, there's a lot of things you could do, with – I mean, yes, I don't think that the ending of this is setting up Alien vs. Predator.
No.
But I do think this movie perfectly states that, like, the seeds are here and eventually we're going to probably tell a story, in this universe that involves both of them. And I think that's really smart. I think – if they're going to do Alien vs. Predator again, keep it separate from the two main timelines you have of films now, which is Romulus and Badlands.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, probably a smart move.
I think these two franchises coming back in recent times, I haven't seen the Alien TV show yet, but I did see Romulus. I have seen, now Badlands and Prey and all the other projects that have been coming out from both, minus the Alien TV show, but I think that they both have a bright future ahead if this is the consistency we're going to get. That's my honest take.
It's ridiculously consistent right now, especially for Predator.
And talking about that, with that being said, where would you guys place Badlands, on your ranking? Like, would it be top 5 of these films? Would it be lower than that? Because I personally have it as number 5 on my ranking. I think it goes behind, obviously you have to have Aliens, and Predator in the top, But I think number 4 would be Prey. I think Prey is the strongest of the Trachtenberg films so far.
Yeah, 100%.
But Badlands, gets the more credit, I will say, because I love how he did a more traditional Predator movie, and then he did a movie exploring the lore a little bit to kind of ramp us up for Badlands. Yeah. And now we've gotten Badlands that just blew the floodgates open. There's so many possibilities now, and now general audiences are going to more understand the Yautja and their code, while also having a Yautja that is more humanized.
Yeah, I would argue Badlands is really the one that he truly wanted to make, because I've even heard in the past his script for Prey was not a Predator movie until like very late in the writing process. Like it didn't even involve the Predator. So like he made it into a Predator movie, then Killer Killers, he made it for, like you said, the lore build, and then Badlands is, I think, really the story he wanted to tell in this universe. And yeah, it's a really rapidly different Predator story. It's a complete shift on the narrative.
Very big risk, I'd say, because there's a lot of people who are very big purists and want to see the Predator just murder everybody, this and that. But I just, like I said, there's my critiques of the film, but I really admire and respect the difference he wanted to make in this film. I really do, because now being exposed to something like this in the future, if he wants to do anything else with any other Predator, like any other Yautja, whether it's different types of clans having different types of, traditions or meanings, it's not going to be very, very weird, I guess, to the
no, he's expanding the lore, and the world building is better than it's ever been. No doubt. Anyways, let's move on to our next review. Welcome the Derry. So, I know we all have very different thoughts on this show. So far, we're 3 episodes in by the time of this episode. So I will ask, what are you guys thinking so far? Do we like the new series? Do you like the new Muschietti, take on the lore?
He had a really funny cameo in it. I will not lie, but him being in it was pretty funny. But you want my opinion? I know it goes against a lot of stuff that's happened in the books and stuff's getting rewritten. For what it is,
Yeah, what do you? I mean, we're 3 episodes in, and I mean, you're the one who got us to watch this. I mean,
yeah,
we weren't watching it
I
until
do.
you mentioned the first episode, which
I
I will
like.
say I was pleasantly surprised. I think it has, personally, I think the first 2 episodes of the show had on par, if not better, scares than the movies themselves.
Yeah,
Very pretty well crafted stuff, and I will say I think the third episode, the most recent episode from this week, was probably the weakest we've gotten. But I will say it was still pretty solid. And obviously, we're still getting. We haven't gotten to Pennywise yet, but I will say the ramp up to get to him has been pretty decently done, especially for a character we know, we already know and have met.
I do like seeing his backstory, origin, lore on camera because I want to see the development of him. I want to see what made him who he was today, and just I was very intrigued right off the bat, especially in the trailer before the episodes even came out. Just the military going in. What is this going to entail for us? And I did call it when we first talked about this. I did say I feel like he's going to definitely expose some PTSD, some flashbacks, and what do you know what happens? Halloran, ironically connected to The Shining, which is crazy, but PTSD. Called her
Yeah,
right off
I,
the
I
bat.
will say I still don't know how to feel like how they're going with like the overall storyline with this show. Because right now it does feel like we know obviously Pennywise eventually gets beat and we know he's going to take care of all these kids. I'm definitely intrigued with like what's going on with like, everyone kind of investigating him, but it is also kind of weird seeing full ass adults go after him in a way. It's definitely doing things that I didn't really expect, but also doing a lot of things that I did very much expect with the
It,
kids.
it definitely reminds me of that Cold War um, era, especially with Stranger Things, when they're trying to take an entity from whether it's another dimension,
Well,
anything,
do you
any
agree there were
power have yet.
huge Stranger Things vibes in the episode 3, especially with that bike scene, right?
100%, but also it reminds me of this. We said the same thing when Stranger Things first came out. Oh, this kind of reminds me of the Goonies, this, and that. So it's going to be hard to not get that formula out of our head. But in the reality, like, Pennywise was always meant to go up against kids, way before Stranger Things was even, existed. And it's going to just be like that for us because what we were exposed to, I guess, first visually, right? We were exposed to Stranger Things before Welcome to Derry. So we're going to not on purpose make that comparison.
Well, yeah, I mean, Stranger Things obviously is a crazy just amalgamation of Stephen King and Steven Spielberg in a way,
Yeah,
So it's like
it is.
obviously you're gonna see the similarities anyway.
But I really am enjoying it. I am. I really am enjoying
Yeah,
what
I
we're
mean,
getting
I'm
so
gonna give
far.
credit where credit's due in this show. Like, I do enjoy some of the scares. I think some of the set pieces are really well done,
Like the
but
creativity a lot.
it still goes into my hesitation even starting the show in the first place. Why? What is the real
What's
point
the
of
end
this
goal?
series? Yeah, like what is the angle really? I still don't really think I see that yet. I really think it's just kind of going to be like, yeah, here's a new thing with Pennywise. He's gonna be unbeatable in this show because we inevitably know his ending too. It's kind of like how I feel when I watch House of the Dragon in a way. Like I enjoyed season 1 of House of the Dragon for what it was, but it's like I know where this ends, and this isn't really going to end well.
It's a little different because obviously it's not hundreds of years before, but it is still in the past, so it's similar in that regard.
I think it's the closest thing I can compare it to, especially television. It just feels like that kind of spinoff where it's like cool, but like what's the point?
It's like Rogue One.
Yeah, at least Rogue One found a new angle. Like I would actually
Yeah,
argue,
true.
Rogue One found a new angle. It was the first actual war movie in the
Yeah.
Star Wars franchise. Like it found an
You're
angle.
right. I
It
take
also
that.
led to Andor, which is debatably the best thing in Star Wars. So
Nah, it's the Clone Wars. I'm
say what you
sorry.
want.
It's
I
the Clone
mean,
Wars. It's
that's
the Clone
that's
Wars.
again that's debatable.
I'm happy you brought that up because I'd actually argue, yeah, Rogue One's probably the exact antithesis of what I'm saying because it's like at least they found an entirely new angle how to tell the story. And they're
No,
like,
that's
we're
what I
gonna
said.
do
That's what I
this.
said 10 seconds ago. I actually take that back. But
Yeah, like for
um,
this, I don't think they're doing anything insanely new narrative wise in this
I feel like
thing so
we're
far.
only
I'm
we're
gonna give
only
it a
three
benefit. Yeah, we're only
episodes
3
in.
episodes.
Besides the inclusion of Halloran,
Yeah.
which is familiar territory for Stephen King fans.
Yeah, like Hollerin is a new thing, but it's like like we've seen people with The Shine and I think other projects other than The Shining stuff before. Like that's actually not a new thing in a way. Like there's always people.
It's a
with The
big
Shining.
theory that people have in a lot of his stories. I wouldn't say most, but
Yeah, I think there's a big theory that Bill has The Shine. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but it's like he is full on displaying The Shining in the show, which is very interesting. Like it's basically The Shining versus Pennywise, which is wild.
I think we're gonna see, especially episode 4. I think things are gonna vary shift. Like the tone of the show is going to get really dark really fast.
I mean, I think after episode 1, I was actually shocked how dark they went.
I agree with you, especially the movie theater scene. But I think now we're going to see an even bigger shift, especially if you look back at the trailer, some of the stuff that's, we haven't seen yet. The tone's going to shift. We're going to see a lot of murder throughout Derry. And we're going to see why, especially in the first It movie we got, why adults are either oblivious or they themselves don't want to deal with
episode
Pennywise.
3 does, tease a little bit of that, how Derry kind of works and how the town, how it has that effect on you, which is very interesting.
Yeah, 100%. So I think we're going to go more in depth about this entire thing in the lore. And I think once everything's fleshed out, and obviously we're going to get more seasons going back in time, as as the more we go, we're going to go further back. We're going to get to a point where I think, we agreed when we all saw It Too, when it first came out, because I saw it 2 days after you guys did years ago. We all agreed that it was not our favorite film, but this show might make that age a lot better. That's my prediction. Listen,
I'm
I didn't
definitely
like
going to rewatch it, Chapter 2, after I guess this series is completed, which will be in a few years. But
Yeah.
I'll give it that chance for sure.
I wonder if that's what it's going to do. I'm not saying that's the purpose of the show, but I wonder if it's really going to make it look a lot better than what I guess it did to us when it first came out.
I will say, as much as I don't like, milking things a lot, this is a horror franchise. And I got to say, I personally think Pennywise is one of the coolest horror villains.
Yeah.
So, seeing more of him and how, he's not, again, we haven't seen too much of him in this show, but this is all Pennywise. What he can do is such an interesting thing in horror. And I think this show has done a great job, at least with the scares. Not so much episode 3, because I didn't love the bike sequence with the kid ghost. But I think episode 2 in particularly, even, besides the movie theater scene, which a lot of people talked about, the scene with the girl, and, in her bed with the mother was genuinely, I think, one of the creepiest things in any of the It stuff.
100%.
So if we get more stuff like that, I'm excited.
The baby birth was crazy with the whole family. Like the family didn't even creep me out.
Yeah. No, there's some really good horror sequences in this. I think if you're just gonna watch it for that alone, you're gonna get some good stuff in here. So yeah, I'm liking some of the stuff I'm seeing. It's a mixed bag, but I definitely think it's worth the watch.
100%.
After 3 episodes. But yeah, brief review on that. I guess let's move into news. We got a lot of news the last month. Brandon, I know you had a big news thing you wanted to.
Well, it wasn't news. I just feel like we've never talked about this. We do always talk about his work, but just because he is a big part of kind of what got all of us talking about podcasts and definitely seeing other people do. But I definitely want to just shed light really quickly. We just hit the 3-year anniversary of Kevin Conroy's passing, and definitely just wanted to say very big heart and soul of not just where I took my career, my career in life, but definitely a big part of why I wanted to do this podcast, what got me interested in film, what got me interested in superheroes, what got me interested in all these different genres. And I don't know if you guys want to say something, but just
he's truly the GOAT. I mean, he'll always be my Batman. He is genuinely, I think, every time I think Batman, or even read Batman, I think of it in his voice, which is very telling.
Yeah, I remember.
He's always going to be the definitive voice. And you're right, it hits hard even, 3 years later. You're right, he really is one of the big reasons why I love the character of Batman. I think is, for a lot of people, a big introduction for them was the animated series and Mask of the Phantasm. And I think, especially for me, the Arkham games were some of the first video games I really completed, fully, and actually really got into. I wasn't a big gamer growing up. Those games were the games I played the most. I don't think I've played a game more than Arkham City.
Yeah.
And I will say, Kevin Conroy he really will be remembered. It's actually amazing to me that he has been immortalized in those games. You can always play, as his version of Batman, the real definitive. And it's a shame, that his last video game performance was Suicide Squad, that whatever that garbage was.
Yeah.
It sucks that he didn't get the proper send-off, but, he will always be remembered as our definitive Batman. I think most people.
Yeah. We gotta, he didn't get the proper send-off, but at least you can look back at 100, 200 plus projects.
He might have gotten the proper send off, but he left the proper footprint. That's what I'll always look at. And he is the reason I am who I am today. a lot of people might not understand that, but growing up and watching who Batman was, like the whole DCAU in general, but specifically Batman and Nightwing, like they had such an imprint on who I became and created like this mindset of wanting to help people, leading me to wanting to be a therapist, but just big reason I got into film and everything leading to this podcast at some point, down the road. And I just thought, 3 years it kind of hit hard, especially that was a week. We lost 2 stars in 1 week. Him being literally like an idol I grew up watching, looked up to him, have his autograph and will never get rid of that. I will cherish that. Like that is my GOAT. And I thought just seeing, yesterday, 3 years was pretty heavy seeing that. Especially somebody we don't even personally know, but just had that impact on us. I thought it was someone we should shed light on because he deserves it.
Like
Yeah,
100%. I hear his voice at least once a week.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about, but yeah, it is quite frequent.
it is. Big impact. But going into the -0 news, I'm going to give you guys the floor for that one.
Wait, so what? So you want to talk about Godzilla? Is what you're saying now?
Yeah.
-0.
Yeah,
Okay. Interesting transition. I love it. Listen, yeah, no, that was beautifully said. With Kevin Conroy, and 3 years later, it still feels very fresh. So, shout out to the GOAT. You're right, but yeah, moving on to actual news from this week, we've had quite a few things, and one thing that got me genuinely kind of emotional. This announcement, I don't know, it's just a bunch of numbers, but I don't think I'm more excited for a sequel. I have been more excited for a sequel, like this in a long time. We haven't got a direct Toho Godzilla sequel since maybe the early 2000s.
What is this? Toho's like what, 35th film? 34th? What is this?
30 something.
Even in the last era,
This is-
they were putting out movies, but none of them were really interconnected like this. We're getting a straight sequel.
We're very close
minus
to
one.
Very close to 40 films from the franchise, correct? Isn't this the 38th or 39th Godzilla film?
34.
No, not for Toho, just the Godzilla franchise in general.
Yeah, no, so I believe this is the 34th for Toho. So yes, we have
I was
over
right on that.
40 Godzilla movies at this point.
Okay.
Or just about with the American. I mean, 38. Yeah, 38. Just about 40. Yeah, my math was a little off there. So we're going into the 34th Toho film. So yeah, we got the announcement at Godzilla Fest this year, which was about a week ago. We got the announcement that Godzilla -1 is going to get a direct sequel. We knew Takashi Yamazaki, the director and VFX supervisor of the first film, was coming back to do a Godzilla movie. We now know that, yes, it's a direct sequel to -1, and it's called -0. And honestly, it was such a simple, teaser. You just get the film score with the reveal of the title. I think it was so effective, though, anyway, because I personally think -1 is one of the best movies of the 2020s. I don't know if you guys agree, but an announcement of a sequel got me very excited.
I do agree. I think it is the best Godzilla movie we've ever gotten, and I mean,
It was so good. I saw it with both of you. That movie was phenomenal.
it's a great movie, and I'm so happy that we're getting the same team to come back to make the sequel. And yeah, it's kind of crazy to think that. I mean, we're eating so good as Godzilla fans nowadays because you got to think about it. It makes me love the American movies even more because I'm just so thankful we have this serious take happening at Toho, and at the same time I could sit back and watch these popcorn flicks that Legendary are throwing out every few years of Godzilla and the big Kong as well.
Well, it's like being able to see the big G with hundreds of $1 million behind them as opposed to 15, which is still what they did with -1 is amazing, and they won the Oscar for VFX, but when it's obviously different when you're comparing it to a $200 million movie.
Yeah.
It's so fun watching the Legendary films, but they're terrible. Toho, Shin and -1 were exceptionally good. Like this current era that they have, we're only 2 films into it, but we're heading into the third. Have just been such high caliber films for the big G. That we're holding them to a high standard now. But I think Yamazaki just coming back and doing a direct sequel is really telling that we're going to get another really special film.
Yeah. Shin,
sure.
Speaking of Shin, they've been on a tear, I guess, since 2016 to now, with just Japanese tokusatsu movies and recreating. So I would love to see Shin do another movie. I
Well,
really
Shin
like
was such a distinct take, and I did hear that they have considered continuing the Shin Godzilla storyline. I personally think it does work really good as a one and done, as opposed to -1, because both of them could work as a standalone. So I think deciding to continue it is interesting. I think -1 is the better movie to continue, but I could definitely see both getting the sequel if they decided to do it.
Yeah, I gotta watch more Shin's films. I've only seen Godzilla. They did what, Ultraman, Evangelion, which I haven't even seen an anime, but I heard that movie was phenomenal. And then they did Shin Kamen Rider, which I haven't seen either. But those are the 5 I think they've only done. And I would really, from seeing Godzilla only, I would love to see another Shin Godzilla film. That's just me.
Awesome. Yeah. So jumping back to just -0 before we move on from Zilla, what do you guys personally think that title entails? Because I saw a bunch of theories that it said maybe, we'd have possibly multiple films in this line now, and it would be, the numbers would increase every time, because we started with -1. We're going to it does say -0, which is weird. But if potentially a third movie was Godzilla 1, that could be an interesting thing too. And maybe we're watching Godzilla himself starting as a destructive force, and eventually maybe by the end he does protect Japan. And that's why we're bringing Japan back from a negative to something positive. That's just a theory I saw. I wonder what you guys think.
I think that's a lot of wishful thinking. I think that, I would love if that's a great theory, though. I think that actually
Sometimes
is.
that's too obvious. I feel like that's too much of a stretch. I feel like
It's too obvious, but maybe it works. I don't know.
yeah. I don't even want to think of what this could be. I'm just gonna ride this one out like I do with certain projects. Like I don't look at any leaks on certain ones, and this is one I think I just want to wait till I'm sitting in theater. Like
Cool. All right. So the last thing I'll ask both of you guys from it. I won't push too hard on it, but I'm just so excited for this. I don't even know how I would answer this yet. But do you guys want to see him fight another kaiju in this line, or do you want to see him being, still the threat to humans?
Still a threat. Not yet. I don't want.
I definitely still want him to be a threat, but I do think they could potentially get another kaiju in there.
I just don't want it right this second. Give it another movie after this.
Part of me wants to say, like, I want to see another kaiju just because, I want to see another Toho kaiju, just take on another kaiju. Like, I'd love to see Mothra, Rodan, anyone back in a Toho movie, but I think it has to work for the story. So right now in this line, he is very much, a foil. He is a villain. He is not really doing anything heroic. So, he kind of caused a lot of nuclear explosions and whatnot in -1. So it'd be a very crazy shift, especially in one movie, for him to just be a good guy. So I think we got to wait and see. Maybe over time.
In defense of, Zilla, he was scared in -1, so you got to give him. No, he was killing people though. But okay, I will say, the last thing I'll mention with it is obviously we had a very big tease at the end of the last movie with Noriko, one of the main characters who seemingly was a little bit infected by Godzilla in a way after his atomic blast. So if they continue that as well, I'm very intrigued to see what they do with that specifically. But yeah, moving on to other news this week. We had another announcement of a sequel. This is a very different, because this is a new Legacy sequel. One that, this is a childhood, well, not childhood movie from our childhood, but it's a movie I watched a lot when I was a kid. We're getting a sequel to Gremlins. And I think that's just kind of amazing. This is one of the Legacy sequels that I personally think can work. And, I have my big stance on these types of movies, but this specifically, I definitely think could work.
Couple of things we know about it so far. Chris Columbus is going to be the director, who's directed a lot of classic films. He was the original writer of the first film as well. As a lot of people know, Joe Dante did direct the first and second Gremlins movie. However, Chris Columbus had a big hand in it as well, so it's good to hear that someone from the original movie is returning to direct this one.
Yeah.
I will say, this announcement comes with a lot of, I'm happy to see Gremlins back, but a couple things I gotta say. One, it has to be mostly practical. That is a big,
agreed.
Big
no
note.
No CGI.
Because there could be a little CGI. There's certain
No,
stuff
I mean like not overuse. Not overuse
yeah.
is what I meant.
It has to be. It has to be like this. Wherever you don't have to put CGI, don't put CGI. It's as simple as that. That's how Gremlins 1 and 2 was made, and that's how it should continue.
Full circle moment of when we've had one of our first episodes on the podcast talking about reboots and revives. And we never talked about Gremlins or anything because there was like never a rumor about this happening, but now here that we are.
Well, there actually has always been somewhat of a rumor that they'd
Well,
be
I
bringing
haven't,
it
I
back.
haven't that
It's
I've
never,
that
it's
I've
ever,
seen.
never been a concrete thing, but there's always been like, studio talk that they've been talking about doing this for
I
some
will
time.
say, I
For some
think
time.
this could work. I think this could be a smash hit. I really think this could
Well,
work.
we're getting the original writer back to make. It's not that there hasn't been Gremlins content. There was a cartoon a couple years ago, but I don't think it was super well received. I think, this is a really good intro horror franchise, as I've always said about Gremlins. It's really, if we get another really good movie like that for kids that draws a great line between the scares and the fun, we got Chris Columbus teaming with Amblin and Steven Spielberg again. I hope the magic can still be there. I really hope they can deliver with 3. It's been, Dylan's right. I think it's been talked about for a few years now. They've been trying to crack a script, and now they say they've cracked it, and I really hope it does stick to this 2027 release that I've heard. I'm excited to see what Warner's does. I'm very excited.
Yeah, and we've heard that Zach Galligan actually is going to come back to do it. So we're going to have, the original cast member. I kind of always thought what they were going to do with New Gremlins, they'd do entirely new characters. So I am curious to see their approach bringing Billy back.
I can't believe we'd see Billy after New Batch, which is honestly one of the most coked up movies of all time. But we don't need to delve into that. But it's just a crazy movie, and the fact that it's getting a sequel is just crazy. But yeah, moving on to even more news. So one thing that was interesting that happened in 1 week. So we got an announcement that V for Vendetta, which is a movie that I really like, DC Comics, Vertigo adaptation. It's a great film, and it's celebrating its 20th anniversary next year. And so they're going to re-release it in theaters. But we also got this week an announcement that Warner's is working on a show, an adaptation of V for Vendetta. So I'm kind of curious. What do you guys think? Do you guys think more can be said with this story? Do you think something like that could work, or do you think it's something they shouldn't really tap into?
That might be a Dylan answer. I got to form something on this.
Well, actually, Brendan, you're the one that brought this up to me in the first place. 'Cause I know you like the original. I know you like that original V. I mean, I think we all like that original V for Vendetta movie. It's a great story too. Great DC.
James Gunn
Vertigo
being the
story.
head of it makes me think he's just going to try to perfect it and maybe add his own.
Well,
little
I don't
twist
really
on it.
think he's going to have much to do with this, but
Well, I thought it was confirmed that he was going to be the main man with this entire project. I thought that's what I saw. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But James Gunn, when it comes to certain things, he wants to either be a purist with a little bit of his twist, or
he will executive produce. Yeah, that's probably what you saw because him and Peter Safran just being the heads of DC, they'll be the producers of the series, no doubt.
I
But
just
yeah,
feel like
I don't
it's
think
going
he'll
to be
have
very.
much of a. I don't think he'll have much of a hand on this, but we have to wait and see because this is going to be kind of like technically one of the next DC shows that they're really working on after Lanterns and
Clayface movie.
Miracle, Mr. Miracle, that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. It's interesting that they really want to do this because they've not strayed away from doing their Elseworld stuff. We got a Watchmen series from Damon Lindelof almost a decade ago now. It's kind of wild, but the HBO is always somewhat interested in these stories. I think they keep them in their back pocket for they want to do something with it. So it's interesting, but yeah, I think we all love that V for Vendetta movie, and we don't really see a need to remake this story in live action. But
I mean, it's really also just the fact that the casting of Hugo Weaving
it's perfect.
is really perfect, and that movie is just very iconic. It's almost how it's not as iconic as this franchise, but it's kind of how I feel about Harry Potter, where it's like why, like, even though it's an adaptation, they left a bunch of things out. Like, it's pretty beloved by people, and people think it's iconic already. Why would you want to touch that?
We got to talk about the medium because it's like of course if you make it a TV show you could expand it, but like you're bringing it over to make it into a film, so you got to cut stuff. It's just like it's a different thing. So it's obviously I'd want to see the full extent of the stories, but to a point where it's just like sometimes I want to just see it in movie form. I don't know. Different strokes.
Yeah, no, I'm being intrigued to see if that actually gets off the ground. But as of now, it's just there's the interest is there of them wanting to remake, and I thought that was very interesting. We'll see if that goes anywhere.
Yeah. Well, something I know you can touch on, Brandon, is by the time we drop this episode, there'll be a new trailer for the Super Mario Galaxy movie, which is
Yeah.
just insane that that's what the title of the movie is. What are your predictions for the movie though? Because this is
It's so weird. The second movie they're already going to Super Mario Galaxy. I will not
I know.
lie. It's odd.
Me and Noah have always thought it should go Super Mario, Super Mario World, and then Super Mario Galaxy. Isn't that the proper jump? Like why jump to Galaxy for the second movie?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like especially when he's meeting Yoshi in the second movie. But we obviously saw the first one. It's a very rushed story. It's obvious that this is going to be a movie that fits a lot into it. It's probably going to be an hour and a half. A lot of stuff's going to happen. There's not going to be really room to breathe. But really, these movies are for kids, and we'd like it to be a little bit more thought out. But Illumination has never really been the most poignant with their animated stories. They're just very simplistic.
one thing I want to just talk about the first leak, I guess, before the trailer that I didn't get to say before. But
What's this leak?
did you guys not see? So I guess there's cookies that they came out, like, you know how we have the Pillsbury microwave ones. Apparently, there's Super Mario Galaxy ones, and we already got Yoshi's face on it.
Oh yeah, I think I might have saw an image because it had like a recreation of how they kind of looked in Galaxy 2, right?
Yeah, and it was for the movie specifically. I mean, I could try to pull it up, but I just getting it.
By this time tomorrow when this episode drops, I'm sure everyone will see what Yoshi looks like.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll have some idea of what the movie's really going to cover. I do think I saw a picture of the like Rosalina's ship from the new movie, which is
Oh,
that's very
I didn't even see that actually. I just see on. Actually, I'm looking at it right now. It is actually so weird to see Yoshi looking at him right now because it looks like he's gonna have a voice. It looks like he's not
yeah,
gonna.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know, but I'm looking at the box right now, and it is the Galaxy movie, and it's the cookies are his eggs. But yeah, that's
cool.
Yoshi's leaked already. He's dropped, and
Well, we
very.
knew he was coming from the end of the last movie.
Oh, yeah, we
I
did.
do think it's a wild jump to do both Yoshi and Galaxy. Like, I mean, I'm sure you could introduce Yoshi fast, but it's just weird how they didn't want to do a Super Mario World movie first.
Yeah, I would have expected them to do something else and expand more of the lore before going immediately to space.
Well, yeah, I don't know if I'm super excited for this movie, but I will say I'm a huge fan of Super Mario Galaxy. So like, I have to see this movie just off of that.
Yeah.
But I will say I'm not the biggest fan of what they did with the first.
I think you're just right though. Like, yeah, it comes down to it just being Illumination and them being very catered for kids. So it's just, like what are you gonna do at the end of the day? These are quick hour and a half movies, and they'll be somewhat fun for adults, but they're mostly catered to audiences that are a little younger.
Yeah, these are the people that make Despicable Me. It's not shocking.
Exactly. So, anyways, I think back onto our
Another animated film. I think I wanted to just. So yeah, since we're on the animated, I just wanted to bring up Toy Story 5. I don't even think I'm gonna see it, but I do want to point out. It had a new trailer today. I just want to point out, yeah, it's wild to me that even though 4 I don't like either, it still had a decent sense of finality for especially the Woody character, and we're just gonna bring him back right away. Like I don't know how they're gonna do it, but it's just wild to me that they can't even stick with those choices.
Yeah, it's so funny to me that the story of 5 kind of just seems like what they should have done in 4. Like they're going up against iPads, iPhones now, which is like I feel like that would have been like the jump to take from 3 because 4 has always I only saw it one time when it came out in theaters, but it's always kind of just felt like animation is amazing, I'll say that, but it's just like why does that movie exist? There's really no point to it. I don't think this franchise should have continued after 3. So it's tough for me to even talk about 5 and really be like, oh, I'm excited for it because I just think it should have ended with what I thought was a masterful ending at 3.
Yeah, no, I agreed. It's very much just kind of beating a dead horse, even though I could point out a lot of impressive feats that they accomplished with 4, especially the look of it. I will say when that movie started, I was really taken back with the visuals and watching how far they've come from the first film to 4 is very impressive.
Yeah, that scene in the rain is unbelievable. It's crazy. But anyways, I think last bit of news that we wanted to cover. It's kind of a similar bit of news that we've been getting. We've got a lot of similar news
This
this week.
is
It's kinda wild.
another legacy sequel, and just like Gremlins 3, this is something that's been talked about for quite some time. And I never really thought that it would get anywhere further than just conversation. Yeah. And I will say the fact that okay, there's a couple notes I have to say, a couple concerns I have with this, but the Mummy 4, I guess really this is going to kind of be the Mummy 3, but we're getting a new Mummy with Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz. So, how do you guys feel about that? Because personally, The Mummy and Mummy Returns were huge childhood movies of mine. I used to
Crazy.
watch them all the time. So how do you
I'm,
guys feel about, Brendan coming back? He's been talking about it for a few years now.
I've never seen The Mummy, and I'm a Brendan Fraser fan.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Yep.
What are you a fan of?
Are we just discovering that you've never seen the Mummy and the Mummy
I never
Returns?
said I've seen it. I never claimed to have seen it, but I have. I'm saying it right now on the podcast now. It's being brought up. I have not seen The Mummy.
That's fair. Okay. I mean, I'm not mad at you. I'm disappointed because
Right.
it's a great feature. I actually think The Mummy Returns is pretty great too. They're somewhat dated for the time they came out, but boy, are they just fun movies. Do you just feel? You can literally feel how much fun like the cast had like on set while you watch those movies. Like it's just like such a.
They don't make them like they did when they made The Mummy, and I will say if they kind of went back on how they made those, how those productions went, if they did something similar like that, it's going to be a very special film. Because, yeah, you're right. They had a blast making those, and that's also really, really lends to the energy seen in those films. Brendan and Rachel just have an insane chemistry in both of them. And also the third movie, Tome of the Dragon Emperor or whatever, it's just so universally, I feel like everyone hates that one. Rachel's not in it. It doesn't even deal with the traditional Mummy. So I think them deciding to nix that from canon and do a proper third movie is very, very exciting. I think one thing that does get me concerned is that Radio Silence is going to be directing the film. And I'm not super concerned. I'm not like, oh my God, like, get someone else concerned. But their track record for their last two films, I didn't love them as much. So I'm cautious with them, taking on another beloved franchise of mine.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, they're the directors of the last two Scream movies, which, a bit of a mixed bag. I liked some parts of the Scream movies, but overall didn't really love. What I didn't like was the direction.
Nothing in those screams Mummy. And I will say I have to watch Ready or Not, which is, I think, their most loved movie, or most, universally praised movie.
That's their strongest movie that I've seen, for sure.
So I got to give that a shot. And I will say, these are people that are clearly kind of like us, where they were probably huge fans of Mummy, huge fans of these legacy movies, huge fans of Scream, and they're getting these projects that, directors wish they could get. So they're proving themselves to people to get these IPs. Yeah. They had to do stuff to prove, I know what they did to prove to get Scream. So I wonder what they did to get this. Maybe people really, the studios really trust them after what they did with Scream. Personally, I do think they have to prove themselves still. But that's my thoughts.
I think craziest thing is Brendan Fraser going to get in good enough shape to be in this movie?
I was about to bring that up. Do you guys think, Skone, you can chime in on this because, yeah, clearly, Brendan Fraser is not as fit as he was in the late 90s. You think he's up for the challenge of getting in that shape to play Rick O'Connell again?
Well, man, I think with Hollywood anything's possible. I'm not gonna be shocked if he ends up getting
the heart. He's got the heart.
The trainer,
he definitely
man.
wants to do it.
He's got to train, work out
train.
multiple times a day, get a good diet, and I think it's possible.
And this is no flack against Fraser. I'm not trying to say he's out of shape or anything because obviously people age. I'm just saying if we're going back to him playing this sort of adventurer, someone who's sort of like an Indiana Jones type, do you want him to get fit again? Or maybe, it's a passing of the torch type of movie.
Play into it a little bit.
Yeah, you could play into it. Indiana Jones did that itself. So I will say, it's shocking news, but he's been really, really excited about a potential Mummy movie. And I am really excited that he's coming back.
I just think this is a great way to continue the Renaissance, if I'd use to say myself, because
It's the perfect way to continue it. It's the role that I say is his most iconic.
It's definitely my favorite Fraser role. I love maybe the first two Mummies. Yeah, we could exclude Tomb of the Dragon Emperor or whatever it's called.
I don't think even he likes that one, man.
So exactly, but yeah, that was just a crazy bit of news because I had never expected that we would get a sequel, more or less a sequel with Rachel Weisz coming back to be with.
Is this one of the first times that someone who got recasted is coming back as their character?
It's very unique.
Like Sean Connery, kind of did it in a way, but that's such a niche situation in different studios and all that. This is so bizarre to me that, I mean, obviously these legacy sequels are not a newer concept, but they're so, in the past 10 years they've been so prevalent. So this now coming to fruition, and seemingly we're going to get it in the next 2 years. I'm very excited to see how they continue. The Mummy Returns. We're like the fact that we're getting a sequel to that movie. When did it come out? 2000, 2001. I used to watch it on repeat all the time, and it does. I will say it feels old because we're not super young anymore. So it's crazy how almost 30 years later, or 25 years later, we're really gonna get. It came out in 2001. It's gonna be over 25 years after The Mummy Returns. We're going to see Rick O'Connell again. Well, we saw him in Dragon Emperor, but we're getting a direct sequel to Mummy Returns. I'm very interested to see how they do it. I don't think Imhotep will be back, so it's going to be interesting.
I don't think he needs to be back.
No, he doesn't, because they completed that story. So them trying to have to find an angle with the new Mummy, because clearly it didn't work in the third. What they did, it's going to be interesting to see how because clearly they found something. They found their story here. They have a script. I'm very intrigued to see what that is.
Definitely. Well, a lot of movie news here. A lot of legacy sequel news. So excited to see what if these things even fully get made at the end of the day.
We got to bring up GTA just because we just have to be. GTA got delayed again, and I believe they are going to drop a new trailer though this week, if I'm not mistaken. So we will be getting a new look at it this week. It sucks that as of today, as of this recording, we are still over a year out of the game. It's absolutely ridiculous. But I will say, I fully believe Rockstar when they're saying they need this time. In the end of the day, we've already been waiting so long. So what's a little bit longer? It just, every delay that we're hit with, it makes the game just feel less existent in a way. So they have to show us a little bit more to keep us satisfied until then. But it's gonna get here eventually. But I guess we're still about a year and a week out.
I just can't believe we're going back and back and back and back with the GTA getting delayed.
I should have bet money on it. Honestly, it was.
I'm more upset I didn't bet on it getting delayed.
It was like a surefire bet.
Yeah, it's just been such a long wait, and we're long past the point where they know this has to be the greatest game of all time. So in the end of the day, if they think they need extra time to do that, gotta respect it. At the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that's why people are accepting it at the end of it. Like, let's be real. Like,
you better say exactly what I said, but you're right.
Through thick and thin, everyone is just gonna accept it because it's GTA 6, and what are you gonna do? Like, yeah. Imagine you're not making it.
They're gonna slap it like a $200 price tag on it after all this time too. Just watch it.
I have heavily theorized it will be over $100 for the base game. Like, no doubt.
It's going to be, I'd assume, a large game. So, time will tell. We'll see if it gets delayed again. I'm praying that this is the last one. But I'm, obviously still excited. I'm not going to say I'm not going to get the game. No delay. You're right. It's not going to deter anyone. But, we just got to wait longer.
Got to wait a little bit longer. I'm sure we'll be talking about it again in our next info. Anyways, thank you guys for joining us for this week. Catch you guys next time.